Okay. 82.4, the first two questions are on estimation. It's not asking you to actually work out what 20 times 54 is. It's asking us to round each one of them first to one significant figure, and then to do the calculation so we would be able to do it in our heads. So the calculation which I need here is 20 times by 50. 2 times by 5 would just give you the 10. I've got 2 more zeros. Your answer there is 1,000. Next question. We've got to one significant figure, this is 100. To one significant figure, this would be 50. So this one's just going to be 5,000. And it's as simple as that. I'm not asking you to work out the exact value. It's an estimation. Question 3. This one, guys, it's just the top multiplied by the top. 5 times 1 is 5. Over the bottom, multiplied by the bottom, 6 times 2 is 12. It's as simple as that. And with this one, I'm going to work it out and then I'm going to simplify it. So 6 times 7 is 42. 10 times 8 is 80. But then I'm going to simplify that. So that's the same as 21 out of 40. Question 5. 311 divided by 5. 311, and I've got the 5 there. Doesn't go into 3 at all. Into 31, 5 goes 6 times. I've got 1 left over. Into 11, 5 goes 2 times. Now I'm going to add the decimal point above and below because I've got 10. 5 times 2 is 10. I've still got 1 left over. Put 0, 5 goes into 10 twice. So my answer here is going to be £62.20. This one, same idea here, so £375.60, dividing it by 6. 6 goes into 37 6 times, that's 36, 1's left over. 6 goes into 15 twice, decimal point above. 6 times 2 is 12, so I've got 3 left over. 6 goes into 36 6 times, 6 goes into 0, exactly 0 times. Answer £62.60. Question 7. Expanding brackets. I'm going to take what's outside the bracket and multiply it by each thing inside the bracket. So 5x times 3 would give you 15x, and then 5x times by 2x would give me 10 times x, so it's 10x squared. 4x times by 5x is going to give me 20x squared, and then 4x times by minus 2 gives me minus 8x. Question 9. 24% as a fraction in its lowest form. Percentage means out of 100, so 24% is the same as 24 out of 100. That's the same as 12 out of 50. I can keep going. That's the same as 6 out of 25. I can't go any further than that. That's the fraction in its lowest form. 27% is just 27 out of 100, and you can't simplify that. That just has to stay as it is. Question 11. The highest common factor of 126 and 140. So this one is quite tricky. You've got to think about the factors of each of these. So if we look at the factors of 140, one way to do it would be with a prime factor tree for each of those. But if I just split this into 2, this would be 63 times by 2. And then 63 here is the same as 9 times by 7, and that's 3 times by 3. So there's a little factor tree for 126. Factor tree for 140, 2 times by 70, 10 times by 7, and 5 times by 2. Now, what I can see here is actually that the highest common factor that I've got is the things which are shared between the two of them is 2 times by 7, which would be 14, would be the highest common factor. If you listed them all out, you could also get to that, but it is tricky. Lowest common multiple of 30 and 40. Well, if I think about the multiples of 30, 30, 60, 90, 120, and so on. If I think about the multiples of 40, 40, 80, 120, and so on, the lowest number in both lists is 120. That's the lowest common multiple. Question 13. Nice and straightforward. A positive multiplied by a negative is going to give you a negative result. So this is going to be 2 times by minus 1, which is the same as 2 times 1 except negative, because one of them is negative, so that's minus 2. This one's minus 10. It's the same thing. A positive times by a negative gives you a negative. Question 15. I'm going to go from 12 to 48 to 1 to something. Now, this is one which I saw quite a few people missed. It works exactly the same way as equivalent fractions work. So to go from 12 to 1, I have to divide by 12. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side to work out what that question mark would be. So if I'm dividing by 12 here, I'm going to divide by 12 over here. 48 divided by 12 is 4. That's your answer. Now, sometimes you're going to have a decimal when you're doing this. You're not going to have, in these two, I'm not going to need a decimal, but maybe in future weeks you will. So with this one, again, I've just got 1 there. I need to see what I have to divide by. I have to divide by 8. So on this side, I'm going to divide by 8, and that's going to give me 3. So my answer there, 1 to 3. Okay, these last 4 were the ones which I saw most people, or a lot more people, missed. And they may have missed them because they were towards the end and they were getting a bit tired, or they may have missed them because they were struggling with it. If you are someone who was struggling with it, or just missed it, for whatever reason, I absolutely need you to be making a full correction to this. It is going to be quite a tight squeeze here, so if you need extra space in your book, please make a little star and then put it into your book, what you're going to do to work this out. So I've got unknowns on both sides of the equation, and I can't have that if I'm going to work it out. I need to get rid of either 6x from the left or 2x from the right by taking it away. I'm always going to choose the lower variable, because if I took away 6x, I'd have minus 4x, which would not be useful. I want to have a positive amount of x. So my first move is going to be to take away 2x from both sides. That gives me 6x take away 2x, 4x on this side, still plus 2. On this side, I've got minus 14. I've just taken away the 2x. It's not taking away any of the numbers there. It's so important you're writing this in if you've not got this so far. So my next step here is I'm going to take away this 2. It's plus 2, so you're always doing the inverse operation. I want to get x on its own. So that's going to give me 4x equals minus 14 take away 2 is minus 16. And then the last step, if 4 times by the number is minus 16, if I divide by 4 on both sides, we're going to find out what that number is. X would be minus 16 divided by 4, which is minus 4. The next one is actually easier because it's one fewer step. So again here, I'm just going to take away this 2x. I want to take away the lower amount of x. That's going to give me here 5, and here I've still got the x, right? So sorry, x plus 5, and on here, this side, I've got 7. Just one more step, which is to take away 5 from both sides, and that's going to give me x is equal to 2. I don't need to do any division at the end because I've only got one x there. Okay, for question 19 and 20, we're going to need a factor tree. So I'm going to turn the paper like this, just to be able to fit the factor tree in a little bit better. And it's 108 that I need to try to find all of the prime factors of. So if I've got 108, if it's an even number, simple thing to do is just to halve it to begin with. So I would get 2, that's a prime number, I'm going to circle it, times by 54, not a prime number. Still an even number, so I'm going to keep just dividing it by 2 for now. So half of 54 is 27, so I've got 2 times by 27. 27's not prime. 27's 9 times 3. So 9 times by 3. 3 is prime, but 9 is not. I need to keep going with the 9. So 9 is 3 times by 3. Now, whichever way you divided this, you could have divided it in lots of different ways. You could have gone straight to 9 times 6 here, instead of 27 times 2. There's lots of different ways you could do this. So what you have here is 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 3. So it's 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 3. Now I can write that as 2 squared times by 3 cubed. Last question. 44 is quite a lot easier because 44 is just 11 times by 4. I'll just do that to start with. 11 is a prime number, 4 is not. 4 I need 2 times 2. So that's just 2 times 2 times 11, which is 2 squared times by 11. That's quite a bit easier, that one.